Welcome back, guys, to One Win Presents. Brian, your host here, and today we continue exploring the legacy of a man who had such profound impact on the world of chutney and soca music and media. Mr. Mohan Jaikaran was such a true visionary, operating popular nightclubs while also promoting his Caribbean music through his JMC entertainment firm. It truly is a remarkable feat on how he accomplished so much in life. We have had some special guests work with him and know him on a personal basis. So join us as we pay tribute to this incredible man and the legacy he left behind. Get ready, because this is One Win Presents, and we are honored to continue this story of Mr. Mohan Jaikaran. Take it away, Nellen.
Welcome, Kiai Prasad. One of the people who I could say I've had the honor of meeting, million-time Chutney Soca winner, producer, musician, businessman, media house owner. Feel free to jump in and correct any of the labels I have forgotten to attach to your accomplishments. Welcome, and thank you so much for taking time out to talk to us today about, somebody who was so influential in both our lives, Mohan Jaikaran. What was the first thing you thought when you met him?
Melina, first and foremost, I would like to please start off by saying thank you so much for having me here today. It's bringing back so many memories, and like you mentioned, we come a long way, brother. We spent some significant time together in the entertainment industry, and definitely something to be back here with you right now, man. Thank you so much. The first memory you asked me of Mr. Jaikaran, is that what you
Yes.
asked?
Yes.
I would tell you it would be around, and I remember it quite well. It could be 1994 at Calypso City, New York, and he had one of his many annual shows over there with the band Triveni, and of course led by my father Virendra Prasad and everybody. We had now migrated to Toronto in 1995, and the band had shows over there all the time. And I remember the first time I went over with my father, and it was around the time where Terry Gadrach had Guyana Babu and Lotila and Chucky Bacchanal, and these things were pumping 95,
Oh,
96, and right around that time. So I was 9 years old, there, nine, and we get over there, and I meet Uncle Mohan, and I'm a kid, and I don't know, to me, it was a bit intimidating because I was 8 years old, and my dad is telling me, this is the boss man, this is the man in charge here, and everything. And I remember meeting, but nonetheless, he was very jolly, and he has, ever since that first perception or that first interaction, he's always been a father figure. No two ways about it growing up. He sort of, you felt it. You felt that emanating from his body, from his entire presence. And man, I remember it well.
what's something that you remembered learning from him that you take to this day with you?
Mr. Jaikaran. I mean, Nell, this is a question that we could talk about for days and days and days.
I
I've spent
know.
so much. We've spent so much time together in different capacities. We've taken flights together, we've done shows together, we've driven together, we've done media together. I learned a lot, of course, with him being the captain of the ship, the pilot of the aircraft, when it comes to those shows, when it comes to his TV station, when it comes to his radio station. And there would have been countless things that I've learned. Now that I'm thinking about this, one thing that umbrellas all that I've definitely learned was persistence. I mean, Mr. Jaikaran, he was a very persistent individual, and no
Yeah.
wasn't no wasn't an answer. And I know that's a common thing or a common go-to answer for people, but I don't just mean it as a go-to answer. I mean, I could tell you about this guy. He was out there, and if it wasn't yes, it was a how do we get to yes. It was
Yeah.
always like, if it wasn't yes, it was how do we get to yes, and we always ended up getting to yes. And I was there since the prior to putting up the building for Win TV or Win Radio, when they were building it up. He used to call us in. I would see the furniture he was putting up to the carpet, to putting out the paint in the walls, and his persistence and his drive is definitely something I admired. And I've learned a lot when it comes to being persistent and trying my best to apply to my career and my personal life as well. No two
Mhm.
ways about that. Yeah.
You are now a young businessman on your way to becoming possibly an entertainment mogul. how how do you think you are mirroring some of his endeavors? Because you've chosen the path of going into radio and being involved in radio, and you are now learning, as he did, that it's not easy.
Easy is a word that doesn't exist when it comes to dealing with those things at all. All right. How would I say I mirrored Mr. Jaikaran when it comes to me getting into radio, and I'm learning a lot from that industry when from him as well. This is a tough one, boy, Alan. When you think about it, I mean, it really it comes down to uniform, it comes down to format, and it comes down to knowing what it is you're trying to get out of it prior to jumping into it. And I've seen a lot of people do that in different fields, different jobs, different career paths. And if there's one thing Mr. Jaikaran always knew is he envisioned and he mapped out exactly what it was supposed to look like at the end. So I wouldn't call it mirroring, but more so variables in his equation that I could use and apply to my
Uh-huh.
equation at this point in time. And those are some of the things that I took. I tried to make sure that I even understand myself exactly what the end product is. And for example, just to elaborate on what I'm saying a bit, some people might say, hey, we want a radio station, or hey, we want to do a show, and then that's enough, and then your partner's born, and we could have this one, and we could have this one, and we could have this one, and we good to go, and that's the end. And then you call up some other investors, and then all of a sudden you have a product. But all in all, you don't know, or you didn't take the time to sort of envision what this would look like when you look over your videographer's footage following the event and things like that. And Mr. Jaikaran was always a person who made sure that he understood his vision before we attacked it, and that's something I definitely like to practice myself and make sure to apply it to anything I'm doing. So just to make sure you're not fishing, you're not jumping into anything without knowing exactly what it is you're going for, because then you won't know where to maneuver and how to maneuver when you bounce up hurdles and when it is you have to cross hurdles.
You know what? I didn't know he did initially, and then we had a conversation. Is on evenings when we are getting ready to start the news per se, and he would say, "Okay, everyone, good evening, good show. I'll see you tomorrow." Um, he would go home and he would watch every local TV station's news and their programming, and he would come back the next day and he would say, we did this good, we could do this better. He never said this was bad. I never heard him say, well, that was just bad.
When it comes to the music as well, and when it came to the actual sound of the industry, Mr. Jaikaran has always been very aware, and he found time to make sure that he was aware of everything that's happening around him. Now, mind you, he didn't dabble in one thing. He didn't want to just be in one thing.
Mm.
He was a you call it a mogul. I call him a boss. He's a
Yeah.
boss.
That's a generational thing though. It's like a fumbling here.
No,
Young
no,
people like you
um,
would say boss, people like me would say mogul.
yeah, I mean, but really and truly, he dabbled in so many things, and therefore being aware was a lot more than just really being aware, because you had a lot to be aware of. And we'd go in there, and I would think that he's so taken up by and preoccupied with the nitty-gritty of running a TV and a radio station, plus his family and traveling back and forth to both places, his clubs, so many things, like I mentioned. But
Yeah.
however, we would sit in his office, one of his offices, and he would give me in detail what went on here with this release of this artist and this release of this producer and K what he, and I could hear him, KI, these guys aren't doing what I thought they would be doing. And
Yeah.
you would hear the voice and on the pitch, and KI, you guys got a bridge, what's going on?
Yeah.
It was
Yeah, you
that's
have the voice. You almost have the voice, but it's so true.
yeah,
When he told
that's
you, that's when you realize you're in the principal's office, but not in a bad way.
Yes, correct is right. Correct
Yeah.
is right. Correct is right. I've had very educational and I'd call them priceless meetings, or just sort of sitting in on some of his meetings and those set offices in the building as well too, where I've learned a lot, man. Now we could sit here and we could talk. I mean, if we really were to get into memories, we could talk about Mr. Jaikaran. I know he's blessed wherever he's flying in his journey right now, because trust me, he's done a whole lot. Thinking back to 17, 18 years old when I joined the band full time, following leaving school as well. Like I could picture so many shows in Florida with him being in charge. I was as much as we were close and as much as I looked up, I was also intimidated by him. I think I'm not intimidated because he was scary. I looked more for that role model in him. So I liked knowing that there's somebody else I didn't want to disappoint, and I was
Yeah.
more so like when it comes to intimidating, there was just another person I didn't want to disappoint, and these were strengths for me to find my success, and he was definitely a part of that, and I'm forever grateful.
The man himself, K.I. Prasad, thank you so much for sharing these little vignettes with us. Continue on your successful journey, and we'll chat soon.
Thank you so much, Nalan, and thank you to Win, and thank you to everybody, and to Mr. Jaikaran and his entire family. Well, of course, Mr. Jaikaran, you fly high, sir, and to the family, we love you always.
A lot of opportunities for business in Trinidad, but there's still a few things Trinidad government has to do to make it more, accessible. There's things in Trinidad sometimes you get caught up, and you can't get things done that easily, and that's what a lot of business people who goes down there thinking they're going to get things done. It's very hard, and they had to make it a lot more easy access to open companies, to get property, land, and for development. But Trinidad have a lot of potential, and we need to diversify the economy.
Man himself, Big Rich, the Punkalong's Factory, producer, director, entertainer extraordinaire. What have I left out? Don't tell me because I know you would.
Keep going, keep going. You forget chef. You forgot chef too, okay?
Well, you see, that's an opinion. That is not a fact. That is an opinion. We have discussed this before.
Coming from somebody who can't fry an egg, okay? So, go ahead.
No. I can microwave an egg and it will look fried.
Right, as I said, can't fry an
egg. How you doing today? How you doing?
I am good. Happy COVID to you.
I would get that sense of humor, and I am tempted to extend the greeting when I go out into the world. But I think you would see me in the news with a black eye and a bandage on the head because I said it to somebody and I touch a nerve. And you know how the thing now people will say they felt triggered. So I will trigger somebody, and next thing you know, I get in good beat up here, and you home allegedly cooking. Rich, we're talking about Mohan Jaikaran.
Mm-hmm.
What's some of the best advice he ever gave you?
Advice. Mohan never really gave me advice. He just tell me what I have to do. Yes. Because, as my four sisters would be listening to this, I was like the favorite child, the son he never had, right? So he treated me nice. And wherever I am in the world today, career-wise and so on, it was because of him. Being a radio announcer was not my thing.
Really?
He said, Rich, we're short staff. I need you to go on a Sunday and announce. I said, go on and do what? He said, announce. I said, I don't do announcing. I'm a DJ. He said, well, you know how we talk. Get your bleep on the radio and do that for me now. So I went, I did it. I was scared. And he said, you see, that wasn't so hard. So next week you're on radio every day. That's how it was. Then when it came to TV, he said, Rich, I need you to just go on TV there and talk with those guys and say something. I went and I was just being Big Rich. And he said, that was good. Then he gave me my TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, and then when I started producing, he said, well, you know about producing, boy. Behave yourself now. I did one because he did producing with Kanchan and Sundar and Trupati and all these people.
Yeah.
When you heard this stuff, I played something I did with Indar Kanhai and Hitman and Hunter and Raymond and Beam and thing. He said, whoa, this sound good. He said, okay, what do you need? So he was a person like that. He always had faith in me, and he knew what I could do. He knew about my talent, and he trusted me in the business and with whatever he put me at. And he just pretty much set me up, and he just take me and he felt me inside there. Go do that.
Yeah.
And from there, I learned and I excelled in everything. So advice, he didn't give me advice. He just put me on that path and said, do this. And from there,
I
he,
look back and I think a lot of time, if I could be as half as fearless as he was,
Mhm.
I would be running the world.
Yes, yes, yes.
You know,
Yes, he was a great.
he didn't ask if he didn't think. He would say it's exactly as you said. He would say, I want you to do this. And you'd look at him and go, I never do that before. And I used
Yes,
to wonder if he would go home and go, please, please let this work out. I just close my eyes and put. But he didn't. He just used to say, well, if it don't work out, it don't work out.
yes, he's a very easygoing, good human being. He was a good boss. I mean, he worked. He had a couple. I don't know, maybe a couple hundred or maybe 100 staff with him there, and there was no one. There wasn't anyone there who had a problem with him, who had anything bad to say about the boss. He
Mhm.
was always giving, caring, willing. You want this? Okay, no problem. You want to try this? Okay, no problem. I support you. No
Yeah.
problem. It didn't work out. That's okay. Try something else or try again. So he was like that. I worked for him under his under the umbrella for about 20 something years. And
Mm.
we never once had a fallout or a disagreement. It's like that. And anything that I wanted to venture in, he said, okay, Rich, no problem. I will support you. We never had we never crossed. And that's not me trying to be nice with the interview. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
Even when my sisters didn't agree with it, he said, don't worry. Rich knows what he's doing. Leave him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's true. I think his vision was bigger than any other shortcoming that he could have as a person, be it fear, be it being
Fair
unsure,
is,
being
yeah, fair is
insecure.
one thing that he always was fair. Fair and giving, open-minded, open for anything,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
he's
used to
like that.
worry for him because I used to worry and go, oh my gosh, is this going to work out? And he would say, if it work out, it work out. If it don't work out, we do something else.
Pretty much anything that he touched turned to gold, and whatever he ventured out on, it was successful.
Yeah.
And as to answer your question about the advice and so on, um, he gave me his story, how he started in life, where he started from, what he did, what he had to do, and everything like that. And that I was inspired by that, yes, and how he pulled it off, and how he became a successful businessman, and like that. I was
Yeah.
amazed by that, what he did, where he started.
A lot of his life was full of, I wasn't supposed to do that because dot, 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 dot,
Mhm,
dot. But
mhm.
so what? And it's really a testament to the human spirit and to people's long-term ability to see beyond a year or two and to really think, I am not supposed to be here operating in this space. However,
Mhm.
I am here, so I'm going to operate in this space.
Yeah, yeah.
That was basically him. Shivani Sukhai, a fellow alumni, co-worker, friend. If we started talking about our Win TV days, we could get sidetracked so badly for so long that we would have to be reined in. But Shivani, thank you so much for joining me and the rest of the Win family and all the people who are watching this to learn so much about the man that was our father, our boss, our mentor, our teacher. What do you have to say about Mohan Jaikaran?
Well, firstly, thank you so much, Nalan, for having me, and to all of the daughters of Mr. Jaikaran, Mrs. Jaikaran. This is bringing back so many memories for me because as we were chatting a short while ago, Nalan, there are so many memories I have attached to when I literally grew from a young girl into a young woman, from a teenager into a young woman. at Win Communications and Win TV and Win Radio. Mr. Jaikaran, there are no amount of adjectives, perhaps,
Yeah.
that I can use to describe this man. Nellen, you would know that. He was a man of steel. I think his name, Mohan Jaikaran, once it's said, it's synonymous with greatness.
Yeah.
His life, his name was his story. And as you mentioned, he was a father, a friend. He was the best boss ever. And I really have to thank him for all that he's done for me personally, Nellen. I don't know if you remember, but I was actually the first female to be hired on Win Radio. Did you remember that?
Wow.
Yes, I was actually the first
Yes.
female. The others came after, and Mr. Jaikaran, he was a pillar of strength. And as Elton John put it in song Nellen, the candle has burnt out long before the legend ever will, and
Wow.
his legacy will forever continue to live on. I think about him all the time, and of course, I certainly owe all that I am as it relates to media and
Hmm.
communications to Mr. Jaikaran.
What was something that he has told you that has stuck with you even to today?
He has taught me many lessons along the way, Nell, and it's difficult to pinpoint one, but one thing that really stands out though is humility. He has, throughout his life, he's achieved so much, but one thing he would always say, always remain grounded. And it doesn't matter where you come from, that has no bearing on when you go where you go in life and what you achieve. So that certainly for me stands out the most about Mr. Jaikaran. A
Yeah.
man of vision. There's so much I can say about Mr. Jaikaran,
I
but
know.
I know we're limited with time as well, but his humility that really stood out the most. In
Yeah.
fact, he achieved so much as a person. He was a successful businessman and successfully ran so many businesses and so many different ventures he would have been involved in. But you'd never know, he'd never puff out his chest with arrogance or ego or anything like that. He was always humble, always smiling, always kind, and always so benevolent as well.
Do you remember your days when we would go on the road for the radio shows to different parts of Trinidad? One of the things
I
you may not
do.
be aware of is I don't know how he did it, but to me, he used to thrive on the schedule changing. Like to me, that's when he was at his best. You throw something at him and he goes, okay. And many times when people were supposed to go on the radio shows, the road shows, and weren't able to go, he would he would say, I should have told you this before, but he'd go, send the little one. And I used to go, where's the little one? Shivani, just send the little one in. She know what to do. And he, when anything happened, many times he'd go, just send the little one in. I used to laugh. I go, does she know? He goes, well, I would figure she would know by now. But he said it so
That is quite
fondly.
interesting. That is so interesting. I am hearing this for the first time, but quite interestingly, Mr. Jaikaran never called me by my name Shirvani, because I'm not sure if you know or how many people know, but he was actually the one responsible for giving me the alias Sunshine Girl. Because
Mm-hmm.
after I visited for an interview and all, I remember so vividly that day for radio, because that's where I started on Win Radio first. And he checked through the credentials and the certificates and everything. So I asked him, well, what do you think? When will I get a response? He said, you're starting now. I said, what do you mean now? He said, no, you're going on radio now. And that was a really, really most memorable moment for me. He put me on air right away, immediately. And then afterwards, he decided that he'd have a morning program, a morning drive time program called Sunshine. And that's where it all came from.
My little sunshine. That's what he used to say. That's what he used to
Indeed.
say. It's amazing, and he brought so many of us together who, given our left our own devices and our own paths in life, we have never ever met. and everything
And
just converged, and it didn't do this, it just did this at Win
And
TV.
one thing about Mr. Jaikaran is the fact that he loved seeing young people do well, and he pushed
Yes.
young people to excel. He pushed me as well into Diwali Nagar. I had no television experience, absolutely none. And you would remember we had those roadshows you spoke about. There was Diwali Nagar, there was the launch of Diwali at the Temple in the Sea, which we would do every single year. And still to date, I think Win TV would be the only television station that would bring all full night coverage of the Diwali Nagar for the 7 nights. And we would have been the first station to launch Diwali for a month of Diwali
Mhm.
programming every year. And there are so many firsts that Win assumed. And Mr. Jaikaran, he was a man of vision. And now we see so many of the other stations and frequencies they are following in this stead, but he was certainly a leader.
Yeah, he certainly was. Those nights where we would go home at 3 and 4 in the morning, but be so energized to come back and do it again and again and again, because his passion and his drive and his love for what he did just filtered down and filtered down and imbued all of us with the same emotions and considerations. So we really fed off of him and him off of us. It was always a mutual exchange of, he would say something and he'd go, well, I don't know if this will work, this might work, and he'd go, okay. And as you said, his humility. He never knew too much. He never was the only one who knew best. He was always, always open. Shivani, thank you so very much for sharing these little stories, which I know, like we were talking before, and I said we could talk for hours and just go, you remember this, and you remember this, and you remember this. Some of it we might get into trouble for now.
So many memories, Nellan, but just in closing, I would really cherish them forever. I really,
Yeah,
honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I don't know if the emotions can show on my face, but I think my time at Win has really been some of the best days, the best years of my life. I spent
yeah.
6 years there. And I just want to say I will continue to cherish the memories. And this program is in tribute to Mr. Jaikaran. So I continue to hope and pray that he's in a different realm now, so that he's always happy in the arms of Bhagwan Sri Krishna. And definitely, for sure, one day we will meet again.
And with that, we come to the end of another exciting episode of One Win Presents. I want to extend my gratitude to Nellin for being a part of this tribute to the legacy of Mr. Mohan Jaikaran. His contributions to the entertainment industry, not only in New York, but globally, have been immense and have laid the foundation for the success of One Win Media. I hope today's show has given you a deeper understanding of the man behind the music and media empire. Thank you for tuning in and being part of this journey at One Win Presents. Until next time, this is Brian, your host here, signing off.
What's some of the mischief you got up to that you never confessed to before? You
Okay,
could
you know
tell me.
what? Okay, you know what? Okay, you know what? I was like, I think I was in New York. I was in New York again. And this was like when I was in what? I was in college times, and I just had a glass of beer. And that is
Oh,
so big in India.